Hi y'all, welcome to the Messy Studio. With my last two project attempts being, let's just say, less than successful, I decided to take a day or two and try to make the Messy Studio a little less, well, messy. So come along with me and let me show you what I've been up to. In this corner is my son's welder. My chop saw is behind the fan, metal chop saw, and that's my welding table. This is my 10-inch miter saw. It used to stand up over there with two boxes of oak flooring on it. Sliding compound miter saw. These are the short pieces here. Well, I took them apart, took all the long pieces out, and put them on the lumber rack in my shed. This is my shed. That's where I put that oak out of those boxes. Below it, you see, I don't know, 300 or 400 square feet of reclaimed Pecky cypress that I got. A guy was remodeling his house up in Ohio and was throwing it away, so I went over and got a bunch of it. Got some walnut over here that I got from a friend in Ohio or Indiana when I still lived up there. That's some cherry that I picked up from another guy that had a tree cut down in his yard and milled up. So I've got some cherry, some walnut, a lot of oak. Here's my oak. I got quite a bit of this stuff. There was a forester in Indiana that was selling 4x4 pallet loads of this stuff for like $35 when I was up there years ago. I've had this about 12 years. That's all I've got left out of a 4x4 pallet. Most of it is quarter sawn white oak. Most of it's roughly, it's all rough cut. It's all 4/4, mostly 4/4, some 3. Every now and then I'll find a stick of 6. And I use it for various projects. A lot of my turning stock back here, nice little burl. That's blackjack oak that I picked up at a friend's house. Nice little burl down there. Got a big Huisach log buried under there somewhere. Most of this is on top is blackjack oak that I've harvested. I didn't seal it, I didn't treat it right. It's probably not going to be good for a whole lot. That piece on the top right there is Texas ebony, right where my finger is. Some maple from my yard in Ohio. I had to take a big bunch of tree down. Those boxes are all pen blanks. And I've got some more flat stock and spindle stock back there in the corner. That's the problem with having too much wood. You can't figure out what you want to do with it. Underneath these cans in this wheelbarrow or it's all hickory. My wife's got it all covered up, so I don't want to mess with it. Her and her can collection. But you see the hickory. These two bowl blanks, they're 3x11. It's maple. It was sold to me. I bought them off of eBay. It was sold to me as ambrosia maple. You can see written on there. I see no hints of ambrosia in that whatsoever. More oak. Yeah, I've got a little bit of wood. Always doing something. This weekend I had my son I had a blasting cabinet under here. It's now over here under my workbench. I moved my compressor over there. A bigger 10-gallon compressor is going to go there, in a month or so. And that one will go to my youngest son. My grinding station. Belt sander. This little rolling cart here that temporarily has tools and some wood scrap stacked on it, I'm going to clean this off. It's also got my 6-inch grinder. I'm going to make a movable or portable stand for my 6-inch grinder. Also one for my small PSI buffer. It works fine. I got it on sale cheap. I'm going to take my scroll saw and put it over there on that cart, so that I have access to it anytime I want to, which I've been using it more and more lately, and I intend to use it more and more still. So that means right now a lot of stuff is kind of in a mess. There's that little buffer I was telling you about. So in the meantime, I've had wood stacked in various places that's now covering up my table saw. And that's the small pieces of oak that I took out of those boxes. I'm going to mill those up and make segmented bowls or vases out of them. We'll see where that goes. This is a piece of leopard wood that I picked up at Houston Hardwoods many years ago. It's developed a little warp over the years, but I'm going to trim it down into 1-inch pieces and probably pair it up with some of the oak. And you get an idea of why I call the messy studio the messy studio. In order to move all this stuff around, we've had to move some other stuff around. Like that piece of corian that's sitting in front of my mustard monster. And I have significantly reduced the stack of wood that was under there. Some of it went into pieces, if you remember, in a cloud of smoke. But I'll finish removing all that stuff out of there. What I'm going to do over here is I'm going to build a set of drawers I'm going to put under there to contain all my chuck parts and that kind of stuff. That'll be one of my upcoming projects. I've got some pretty cool ideas for that. I also picked up off of Amazon a box of these large seam rippers. I'm going to cut them down probably to about right there, and a package of a dozen or so of the small ones. I'm going to make some double-ended seam rippers, small on one end, big on the other, match the colors. Went to Lowe's, picked up some 1/2-inch copper caps, contractor pack. This was about $4. These will be the ferrules on one of the two ends. I also picked up a contractor pack of copper collars that I'll part in half. Those also were about $4 at Lowe's. So those will be the ferrules for my seam rippers, giving them a bigger handle. I made one of these a few years ago for a neighbor who's a seamstress, and she absolutely loved it and said, "You need to make a bunch of these, you can sell them." So I'm going to make a bunch of them with some of my pen blanks and see if I can get them sold, just because I've been wanting to do it. I've got, as you can see here, you've seen these before in another video. There's my 10-inch Delta that I put a variable speed motor on from PSI. This is my Nova, my mustard monster. This is supposed to be a 2-car garage. It's relatively small for a 2-car garage. I measured the square footage that my actual shop equipment is taking up, about 221 square feet. I've got about 1,000 square foot of woodworking equipment stacked in 220 square feet. So in my planer, my 8-inch slow speed grinder with my sharpening jig on it, I showed you that a minute ago, my oscillating belt sander, spindle sander, my work table that is full of crap that got picked up off the floor to move stuff, my Oneida Super Deputy Cyclone, hoses piped to everywhere. Looks kind of redneck, but it gets the job done. I don't care. My floor model drill press, 14-inch bandsaw with a riser on it, 6-inch riser. I bought that many years ago when you could still get that 14-inch from Harbor Freight for $199 on sale. $50 more for the riser kit that you can see right there. My Craig K4 my wife got me for Christmas. I added a set of Carter roller guides, and I got to tell you, I love this saw. I wouldn't sell it for $1,000 right now. I just really wouldn't. And the saw works great. And my Harbor Freight, which was a single stage dust collector, but now with the Cyclone it's 2-stage. I need to put a 1 micron bag on it. Another shot of my Delta pen blanks, various other wood scraps on here, and finishing chemicals. My toolbox. This little cubby hole thing here is holding a lot of the parts for my trike project that I started a few years ago, but I'm no welder, so I'm gonna have to have help with it. This is the beast, 2003 Fat Boy tank. You can't really see them because I've got it covered up to keep the dust from getting on them. That's an Indian front fender, but I've got 8-inch over Springer front end on it. Here in the back, new Michelin tires and disc brake assembly. From here back, this is Volkswagen. From there forward is all Harley. Anyway, that's another story. You've seen me use this. My drum sander, love it. So now I've got to find a place to stack this wood so I can get it off of my table saw so I can get to work. But I'll do it. There's a beetle-killed pine. I'm gonna make a segmented bolt out of that too. So that's what I've been up to for the last few days, and probably what I'll be doing for the next couple of days. So I appreciate your patience hanging in there with me. I'll get another project on here pretty quick. And as always, please like and subscribe. That really helps. Thanks for watching. Y'all come back and see what we get into next.